Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're exploring a really captivating collection of essays. They tackle this profound question. What if a river could speak and actually be heard in a court of law? We're diving into the book, Is a River Alive?, edited by Tadashi Kobayashi, published back in 2019. It was originally Japanese, now it's translated, and well, it sits right at this fascinating intersection of environmental philosophy, legal theory, and just our whole relationship with nature.
Yeah, and this deep dive is really about a pretty significant global movement. It's aiming to recognize things like rivers, forests, entire ecosystems even, as legal persons.
Legal persons, wow.
Yeah, it's a radical departure, really, from the traditional view of nature as just property or, a resource. Instead, it's about embracing it as a living being with its own inherent rights, agency, and crucially, deserving protection under the law.
Exactly. And this book, it compiles essays from all sorts of people, scholars, philosophers, scientists, and, this is important, indigenous thinkers, too. So our mission here is to kind of distill the most impactful insights from all these sources, giving you a clear understanding of this, groundbreaking concept and what it might mean for our future. It really feels like a legal and moral revolution happening.
It absolutely does. And it's fascinating stuff.
So, right, let's unpack this core idea about giving legal personhood to nature. What does that actually look like? I mean, in the real world, has it actually happened, or is it just theory?
Oh, it's absolutely moved beyond theory. The book highlights several real-life cases where this legal revolution is already kind of unfolding. Probably the most prominent example, and it was a world first, is the Wanganui River in New Zealand.
Yes.
That was granted legal personhood back in 2017.
And New Zealand wasn't the only place trying this, right? I think I remember reading about others.
Correct, yeah. Rivers in India, specifically the Ganges and Yamuna, they were also briefly granted similar rights. Now, those decisions faced some legal hurdles later on, but the attempt was made. In Colombia's Constitutional Court, that's another example, they recognized the Atrato River as a rights-bearing entity. So you see, these aren't just isolated incidents. They really signal a fundamental rethinking of how humanity relates to the environment, moving from, say, exploitation towards recognition.
That's a big shift. And what the book really powerfully emphasizes, I thought, is that this idea isn't just some modern legal invention cooked up recently.
No, not at all.
The roots go much deeper. It shows how indigenous worldviews really form a sort of foundational pillar for these rights of nature arguments.
That's such a crucial point. Absolutely. Indigenous cultures for, centuries, millennia even, have held this belief that rivers and lands aren't just resources. They're living entities, often revered as ancestors.
Living ancestors.
Exactly. And the book illustrates how this perspective isn't just, spiritual talk. It's also profoundly ecological and inherently sustainable. For instance, many indigenous legal traditions center on reciprocity, this idea that humans have responsibilities to the land and water, not just rights over them.
Responsibility, not just rights. That's different.
It is. And this traditional knowledge is now directly inspiring and informing modern legal frameworks. It's like bringing ancient wisdom into, contemporary law courts.
Okay, so if a river becomes a legal person, what does that actually mean in practice? Like, what powers does it give the river? Can a river, sue a company for polluting it? And if it can, who speaks for the river in court? Because obviously the river itself can't hire a lawyer. These seem like really big practical hurdles.
They are critical, practical questions, absolutely. And the book does tackle them head on. Typically, the way it works is that a guardian or maybe a trustee is appointed.
A guardian?
Yeah, someone appointed to represent the river's interests in legal matters. These guardians are often, say, local indigenous groups who have a long connection to the river, or maybe community members, or sometimes specially created legal bodies.
I see.
And yes, to answer your question, these guardians could indeed sue a polluter on the river's behalf, arguing that the pollution violates the river's rights. This whole movement, it connects really deeply to something called earth jurisprudence. It's a legal theory initially proposed by a thinker named Thomas Berry.
Earth jurisprudence. Okay, tell me more about that. What does it propose?
Well, Berry's core idea was that human law shouldn't just be human-centered. That's the default now, right? He argued it needs to be earth-centered.
Earth-centered law.
Right. It suggests our legal system should actually draw principles from the natural world itself, from its inherent processes, and you could say its wisdom. much like indigenous traditions have done for ages. And it presents this key philosophical contrast, which, when you think about it, kind of exposes the absurdity of our current situation. Think about it. Corporations, which are totally artificial legal creations, they readily have legal rights, lots of them.
Yeah, of course. Personhood for corporations is standard.
Exactly. Yet rivers, which are undeniably alive and absolutely essential to all life, often have no standing, no rights in court. That's quite a disconnect.
It really does make you reflect, doesn't it? The book points out something powerful. It says, legal systems shape what we value and what we exploit. That really stuck with me.
We do.
This reversal, giving rights to nature, it truly highlights how in our current systems, profits often get a loud voice in court, but ecosystems generally don't. They're silent.
Precisely. And, beyond the purely legal and the philosophical arguments, the book also includes these really quite poetic and symbolic essays. They explore the deeper implications of this shift.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, they reflect on, for example, the tragedy of the death of rivers due to industrialization, and they delve into the ethical limits of human dominance. It invites a much more holistic, maybe even emotional perspective.
So it's not just dry legal theory. It sounds like it moves beyond just the mechanics of law and reaches for something, deeper, more connected. Can you give an example? How does one of these sort of poetic essays shift our view?
They certainly do. One powerful theme they explore is this possibility of a kind of spiritual reconciliation with the earth. It's not just about laws, it's about our mindset.
Right.
The essays, collectively, they challenge this very notion of human exceptionalism, the idea that we're separate from and above nature. They guide us towards understanding that our well-being is just fundamentally tied to the health of the planet.
That makes sense.
And the book wraps up with this powerful call to reimagine law itself. Not as something extractive focused on dividing things up, but as something ecological.
Ecological law.
Yeah, it serves as a reminder, and I love this quote. When a river is recognized as a person, it does not become human. It becomes sacred.
Wow. That's powerful.
Isn't it? And ultimately, the book asserts, nature has rights, not because humans give them, but because they are.
Yeah.
They are inherent.
So this whole exploration, it reveals a book that's, deeply philosophical, but at the same time, really grounded in actual real-world examples. It manages to integrate indigenous voices, complex legal theory, ecological insights, all to raise these incredibly urgent questions about the future of law and, the environment.
Definitely.
And some parts might get a bit academic, a bit dense perhaps, but the book's conceptual originality, it's just off the charts, and its environmental relevance couldn't be more pressing right now.
Agreed. 10 out of 10 on relevance, easily.
For sure. And it's really not just a read for environmentalists or lawyers, is it? It feels like it's for anyone curious about different ways of seeing nature, of valuing it.
Absolutely. Is a river alive?
Yeah.
Really stands as this, revolutionary and quite poetic meditation on law, nature, consciousness.
Yeah.
It fundamentally challenges our default human-centered thinking.
Yeah.
And it lays out this potential legal and philosophical path towards maybe environmental harmony.
This book, academic in places, but it delivers a core message that just feels incredibly urgent, necessary, even in our, current age of ecological challenges.
Yeah.
It really is an invitation to shift our whole perspective on what truly matters.
It really encourages us, I think, to think critically about how our legal frameworks literally shape our relationship with the planet. And how acknowledging the inherent rights of natural entities, like rivers, could be a really critical step forward for all life, not just humans.
So thinking about this, what does it mean for you, listening right now, to truly consider a river sacred? Or maybe to imagine a world where the health of an ecosystem holds just as much legal weight as, say, corporate profits?
Good question.
They are. We really hope this deep dive encourages you to explore these profound questions further for yourself. Thank you for joining us on The Deep Dive.